Hello, welcome to the stream. Let me just double check that it's live in case there's anything. And we're live, yeah, welcome to the stream. Um, Today we're going to be looking at the price of Bitcoin and some other new trading news. So the price right now is around 88,000 and has been hovering like that for a pretty long time. You can see over here the price has been stable for the past couple hours actually. There hasn't been much difference. We can see a little bit of liquidity sweeps at the very bottom, at the very top here. That's what the price is very much trying to go to. Similar to the bottom here. That's why the swings are in this specific range over here. Now, yesterday we were talking about the range was actually very low. It reached all the way to 89,000 or 87,000, where a lot of people got liquidated around this specific area. Even when we were live yesterday, a lot of people got liquidated here. It was like around $130 million people got liquidated, and then now the price shot up literally a couple hours ago to what's it called, to now this standard $88,000 level. But yeah, there's new what I'm using right now is TradingView, and I have a couple indicators that are open. I have both like the liquidity sweeps and the liquidation levels indicators. You can see here I have this one specifically is the liquidity sweep. This one's one of my favorite indicators. They're basically just telling you exactly where the price is trying to go, and it's not just like, oh, it either goes up or goes down, but if it reaches these specific levels, that means that the price will like liquidate a lot of people. So if it reaches, like, for example, around this area over here, it means that it will shoot up even slightly more. So similarly to at the bottom here as well. The other ones are just basically the liquidity bubbles over here. This is what it shows you, like where people might like get liquidated when it reaches this specific level. So people will try to hover the position around like this specific area so they don't get liquidated. But if the price even like reaches around here as well, people will try very hard to make it touch this specific area, so it liquidates the other position as well. But yeah, welcome. Hey, good morning. Yeah. Right now the price is sitting around 88,016, and we're just watching it right now. There isn't really much price differences happening. It's just basically hovering around from 88,300 to like 87,900. It isn't really giving us any crazy ups or downs compared to what happened literally like a couple hours ago, which was insane. It went all the way down to all the way up to 88,400 from 87,000, which is pretty insane. But yeah, so the price right now is sitting around 88,000, and we're gonna be doing like what we did before in the other live streams. We're gonna be talking about some crypto articles and what like they mean, and what's happening with the price right now, basically, and why is the reason like what's happening has been happening with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as well. You can see right now there's a pretty bullish trend right now that's happening for the past like 10 minutes, and it's mostly probably because a lot of players are trying to reach this specific area at the very top here. Trying to reach this specific area at the top here. So if it reaches this specific point, for example, if this is the correct liquidity sweep as we saw from the previous live streams, then it means that it will most likely, even like if it reaches this specific area, it will probably shoot up even more and try to even liquidate more positions as well. So we just have to basically wait and see before we can have any decisions on what to do. But yeah, the price right now is sitting around 88,100. Pretty big since we started, and it's still pretty much going a little bit up. It shot up a couple hours ago very significantly, trying to hit this liquidation area, which it kind of didn't do. You can also see other liquidity swings. This is where like a lot of people shot the other way so they don't get liquidated, similar to what is happening here, but it looks like they kind of didn't do it very well. But yeah, this is basically my favorite indicator, or like one of my favorite indicators, because it's basically just very easy to understand, and it's a very good indicator as well. But yeah, now the price is very much stabilizing around this specific area right here, where if it kind of reaches around this specific zone around 88,200, then after that it will shoot up even slightly more higher compared to this specific zone. Similar to what if it reaches at the very bottom here, for example, if it came and touched this specific zone around 87,800, then it will also shoot pretty down, even more significantly down. This is what we're waiting for, to see what will happen very soon. But yeah, we were talking together yesterday about some TradingView articles as well, and and interestingly enough, there's like a lot of interesting parts about the article that I was talking about yesterday, and we can continue to talk about it, about how, like, for example, like there's a dynamic playing out in the cryptocurrency markets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, around and other major digital assets are retreating, even as like key macroeconomic indicators suggest that inflation is cooling and central banks are cutting interest rates. But we can see right now the price is actually very close. The price is very close around this specific 88,000. So it will try very much to reach all the way at the very top here. You can see that over here, the candle almost reached at the very top around this specific zone, but because there's a lot of liquidation, the sellers jumped in and basically like had a lot of short contracts or something like that, which led to the price to go down even more significantly. But if it reached this specific zone, for example, it would have shot up even more, because this zone would have liquidated the other positions, which means that price will the price would have gone even more up if it reaches this specific area. But yeah, we have to continue watching to see which now we can kind of see that it might try to reach this area, because it's easier to go from here, from this level to there, instead of like reaching this specific area to over at the very bottom here. But we just have to wait and see a little bit. Right now, because it reached almost the liquidity area, a lot of sellers are trying to, or a lot of short-term like short positions are trying to lower the price so they don't get liquidated at this zone, because there's been a lot of buying momentum in the last couple minutes. But yeah, welcome to the stream. How's everyone doing? The price right now is around 88,000, and it's been hovering around this specific zone for pretty much like the last hour or so. Not crazy swings, just 88,000. And something very interesting is a lot of like recent news is talking so much about quantum computing, even though there isn't really any major breakthroughs that I know of. But we will also talk about that very soon. But yeah, now the price is sitting around 80,090. And as I was saying, basically, let me just shorten this a little bit. At first glance, this seems like contradictory. So after all, lower like inflation and easier monetary policy are traditionally supportive of risk assets. Yet we are seeing weakness in crypto prices. To understand what's happening, like what's actually happening, we need to like look beyond like simplistic narratives and examine both the macroeconomic signals and the market real-time behavior. So the headline from the article actually was saying that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP were like trading lower despite positive economic news. It notes that the total crypto market. What do you see about the market? It was insane. It went up very, very, very significantly at the bottom since the bottom here. Literally over like 3%, over 2,500 since the market close. We can actually see the the crazy jumps. I believe it closed around this specific area, and then now it's all the way over here. And it liquidated so many positions that opened at the very back here. That's why the price shot up like crazy all the way over here. And there was even more liquidation at the very top here, which why it made it shoot all the way to the top here. And now because there's other liquidation zones at the top here, it means that if it reaches all like these specific areas as well, which these specific areas, it would also liquidate some other positions at the very top as well. So we're still waiting to see what will happen here actually. So the market today is very, very bullish. Oh yeah, we were saying that it might even go longer. Let's wait and see what's happening here. So it just needs to reach this specific zone for it to go a little bit higher, which we're waiting for. But we just need to wait a little bit until it actually reaches this over the liquidity sweep area, which then would probably make it shoot even higher by a little bit. But it's very, very much like so many like sellers are stepping in right now to, yeah, no, this is not good. So a lot of sellers are stepping in right now. A lot of short positions are stepping in right now, so they don't get liquidated at the very top, similar to what happened at the start of the candle here. Even though there's a lot of like buying volume as well. But yeah, we just have to wait and see where it's gonna decide to go first before we read anything. So I wanted to talk about the article that I was talking about before. Basically, it noted that the crypto value like lost like 2% like 2 days ago, which was like very significant compared to now. It's over 3%, but still, this is since the market opened. But it might we still not sure where it's going after that. Saying that like it's well, yeah, let's just check out the price right now because it might reach. Yeah, okay, let's see what's happening right now. Yeah, okay, it's saying there's more like liquidation sweeps at the top, which is not very helpful here. Interesting. So it liquidated positions at the top here, but it didn't really shoot the price up, which was kind of what we expected. Yeah, this is very interesting. No, it shows more liquidation at the top here, which it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So it's trying very hard to reach over 88,250, which if it does, then it will probably shoot up even more. But that's what we are thinking, that it will reach like around this specific level for now, but it's not doing so. Even though it should have, because it liquidated a lot of positions a little bit ago. So now we just have to wait and see a little bit until, yeah, this is what we wanted, yeah. Reach 250, that's what we were kind of expecting it to go a little bit. Because it liquidated a lot of positions at the bottom here, so we expected it to go to this price. Yep, there you go. Yeah, we knew. We knew. It was just a little bit of delay. It was just a little bit, yeah. We knew. We called it that if it reaches this specific zone, it will go even more up. We knew. It's so easy. It's so simple too. It's so simple. Just look at where the liquidation zones are, and just wait and see. It's so easy. But yeah, this is very interesting that it shows even more liquidation at the top here. But I'm pretty sure this is just a lot of people trying to stop the price from going up, but not really an actual huge amount of liquidation zones. But yeah, we called it. We just said that if it reaches this specific zone over here under, it will shoot up, and it shot up very much, like very high as well. Not very high, but like, it shot up pretty much exactly how we expected it to shoot up. So it's very interesting. But yeah, the the article itself suggests that the investors remain cautious, like, and are selling risk assets, even though like inflation data and interest rate cuts normally would be considered supportive for crypto markets. Yeah. So right now, because they already liquidated the positions, it doesn't really it doesn't really mean that it will continue to go all the way now up here, because there's probably more selling that's happening right now, because or take profit that's happening at the very top right now. That's why the price is shooting up pretty much a little bit down. Uh, However, speaking of shooting like pretty down, if it reaches the same zone, which the opposite zone of liquidation, like here and here, it will try, like, for example, if it reaches this specific zone from what we saw at the very top, it will like this area here, it will also liquidate even more down a little bit. So just make sure to like watch it if it goes to this specific area, and then it will go all the way down to like maybe around here or possibly lower. But yeah, welcome to the stream, everyone. um, yeah, sorry, but I'm feeling a little sick today. That's why I'm coughing a lot, and that's why my voice is very different from before. We're just basically looking at the price. We're gonna read some news article. Oh, look at that dip. That's a wild dip. That's insane. Yeah, so this is basically a lot of people probably either just taking profit because a lot of people got liquidated at the top here. So this is insane. There's a lot of selling right now. Yeah, this is insane right now, and it reaches all the way to 87,970 from, like, that's like a $300 difference right there in one candlestick even. So we just have to wait and see. If it reaches at the very bottom here, that means it will do the same thing and it will liquidate the positions at the very bottom. However, if you can see, this is basically the bubble for the opposite bubble of liquidation. So it basically liquidated a bit ago. That's why the price didn't really go down as much. It kind of hovered around this for a little bit, and then after liquidating the specific zone, it went all the way up here, which we called that it will go up. Like, we literally just knew it. And now it's hovering all the way to go down here around 87,000 or 88,000, and trying very hard to go down to liquidate the long positions actually. So yeah, as I was saying, the investors remain cautious and are selling risk assets, even though like inflation data and interest rate cuts normally would be considered supportive for crypto markets. So let's parse this like step by step, and what does it actually mean when inflation cools and rates are cut? In simple macroeconomic terms, lower inflation, especially when it comes to like in below expectations, leaves pressure on central banks to keep interest rate high. So lower interest rates make borrowing cheaper, reduce the opportunity cost of holding non-yielding assets, and historically have been positive for risk assets like equities and credit. Many investors extrapolate this logic to cryptocurrencies, assuming that if money becomes cheaper and financial conditions looser, uh, assets with higher risk profiles like Bitcoin and Ethereum should benefit. But yeah, the price right now is sitting around 88,000. Basically, a lot of people took profit from the top here from the liquidation zone that happened. So it might still continue to hover around this specific area because this was the new like kind of support and resistance zones, but not really. But yeah, now the price is sitting around 88,000. Give me 1 second. But yeah, now the price is sitting around 87,998, so around 88,000, and it's I'm pretty sure where it's gonna hover around for a little bit. So it will the price will stabilize on this level, from what we see from this candlestick right here, at least for a couple minutes or something like that, until it decides again. Either it will hit another liquidity zone at the very top or at the very bottom. But yeah, welcome everyone to the live. We saw what happened literally a couple minutes ago after we called it. Is that the price? If the price reaches this specific zone, we called that it will go pretty much higher, and we saw it happen like because it liquidated other positions, so the price drove it higher. It liquidated the short positions. That's why it liquidated it and drove the price to 88,000 and like 300 and something here, like almost 400. But yeah, no, there's a lot of selling volume that's happening right now. And we just have to see wait and see where the price is deciding to go. From what we see before, it will try to hover around the specific zone for a little bit at least. Then it will tell you where it's. Then you will will kind of can tell where it's deciding to go. Similar to how we saw it when it was here, and we said that it will if it reaches the specific zone, then it will shoot up very like higher, and it did shoot up significantly high, which is very very interesting. But yeah, what I was saying, what's it called? Many investors extrapolate this logic to cryptocurrencies, assuming that if money becomes cheaper and financial conditions looser, assets with higher risk profiles like Bitcoin and Ethereum should benefit theoretically. That reasoning has a logic to it, but also contains like hidden assumptions. So one of those assumptions is that like news about inflation and rate cuts translate immediately into liquidity and risk appetite. In reality, markets often require like clear confirmation. You can see the price right now is dropping pretty hard to around 87,860, and we can see that it might actually reach the specific zone. So kind of called it a little bit ago as well that if it reaches this specific zone, it might even drop lower. But because the candle is still like around, there's 1 minute remaining left, we have to kind of wait and see. This is because I'm using a 3 minute, 3 minute time zone right there. You can see also there's a lot of liquidity here, which is very interesting. I don't think this is the accurate liquidity level. I think this is the accurate one, and this is an accurate one. This one is just showing what a lot of basically buyers or long positions trying very hard to not make the price drop to this other liquidity level at the very bottom. So they basically put more contracts and more like buying for them to basically stabilize the price around here or try to make the price go higher. But yeah, we were saying that the bounce that happened in Bitcoin is kind of like they're saying that it's fleeting. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP like fell back after the initial spike, which highlights a critical point. Crypto markets are not driven by macro data in a mechanical way. So traders look not just at raw data points, but at what those data points imply about future monetary policy, liquidity conditions, and risk sentiment. In this situation, traders began to question whether the inflation data was actually strong enough to shift the trajectory of the Federal Reserve policy. The conclusion in many trading desks is that while inflation is cooling, it may not be enough to trigger immediate or deep rate cuts, especially given mixed labor market data and uncertainty over future Federal Reserve action. So right now we're looking at the price of Bitcoin. It's sitting around 88,000, which is very interesting right now. Yeah, this is basically a lot of buying happening after the price nearly reaching the liquidity level for the long positions. That's why a lot of people are making the price go up right now. I'm pretty sure the new liquidation levels for the short positions is over here around this specific zone. So if it reaches this specific area at the very top here, it will do basically the same thing as what it did over here. So if it reaches this specific zone for here, then it will go even more up to this specific area. So we just have to wait and see. And similarly to at the very bottom here, if it reaches this specific area, it will liquidate even more people, which then would drop the price even lower. So yeah, this is very interesting right now. But this kind of leads to the first major truth about crypto price behavior: liquidity and monetary policy expectations matter far more than individual data points. So a cooler CPI prints alone doesn't guarantee easier financial conditions. It's simply it's basically increases the possibility of future rate cuts. So traders price markets based on what they believe will happen next, not what already happened. So in this case, although inflation cooled, markets remain unconvinced that a sustained easing cycle is imminent, particularly given mixed employment data, and that hesitation is keeping many investors on the sideline. So now we just have to basically wait and see where the price is going, because right now it's very, very uncertain about if it's going up or down. It's basically been hovering between this specific zone for pretty much a decent amount of time, even though it reached the specific area as we were talking about it live actually. Good day, welcome to the stream. But yeah, the price is sitting around 88,000 right now, and there isn't really much happening. We have to wait and see, because if it reaches also this liquidity zone at the very top here, similar to what happened here, it will also shoot up all the way at the very top here, and if it reaches this liquidity zone at the very bottom, then or liquidity sweep at the very bottom, it will do the exact same thing where it will liquidate the positions and then probably go back into the middle. But yeah, what I mean by liquidity sweep, what I have here is basically some traders will try to drive the position to go all the way under this liquidity position and liquidate these areas. Then it will shoot back up to the price that where it was before. So this is what the liquidity basically sweep means, and this is why we have these indicators. But usually during these liquidity sweeps, similar to what we saw live here, usually if it reaches slightly above the liquidity sweep, it still shoots up pretty much a little higher. In this case, it reached pretty much a very high. Then it got liquidated, as we can see, from here all the way down to here, even all the way down to here, because people already got liquidated and people are trying to take profit. So yeah, we just have to wait and see for the newer areas. But yeah, as I was saying in the other article as well, oh, look at the price right now, it's shooting up pretty high. It's trying very much to reach this liquidity area, but it's still, because it reached all the way down here, and now it's all the way up here, which is very interesting. These candles are very uh, don't make much sense, to be honest. But because like the closest liquidation level is at the very bottom here, so we have to kind of wait and see what's gonna happen. And the other liquidation levels here are a lot, but they're like kind of stacked together. So this means that the price will try to pretty much try to shoot up there, because there's also more liquidity sweeps at the very top. But yeah, oh, look at that. It dropped from here all the way to here in literally one candle, which is, oh, look at that. So we were saying that it might reach it. Let's check if we can watch this live actually. Because if it reached this specific zone, actually, it will even drive the price even slightly more down to around here. So we have to wait and see. There's a new candle just opened. And yeah. Hello, welcome to the stream. Now the price is around 87,900, and look at that. Now we just want to watch and see. This is basically people trying to liquidate those short. Yeah, see, we were saying it, and it will probably go down even more. It will try to hover around this price for a little bit, and then it will drop more. Yeah, it liquidated the positions. So we just need we waited for it to go around here, then it dropped all the way down here, because it liquidated other positions at the very top here. But yeah, now the price is around 87,840, and it's still pretty much trying very hard to go down. I believe it's trying very hard to go down under this as well, so it liquidates the other positions, which it looks like it kind of did actually. But we still have to wait and see for a little bit more. But yeah, this is what we kind of called. We said that if it reaches this specific area, it will still try to go all the way down here, which it kind of actually already did. Yeah. But also, if it reached this specific area, it would have done the same, basically, because this is the actual liquidity sweep area. But because this is the liquidity sweep indicator, it's the Lux algorithm one. Liquidity sweeps often mean that the price will go down and then up back again. Usually, it means like that. But sometimes, if it's a pretty huge liquidity margin or liquidity box, a lot of the times, basically, people will have fear. Yep. We called it. People have fear, and it will go down even more. Look at that. It went like literally all the way down to 87,600, all the way from the top here. We just knew that it's doing that. We knew it's doing that when it reached this specific area. We just so interesting right now. But yeah, it reached all the way to 87,600 and something, all the way from 87,900. But yeah, basically now it's either gonna continue and rise and stabilize around this area, or it will just try to liquidate even more and stabilize around this area. But we're still not sure, because it already liquidated this position. What's happening here is actually similar to what happened up here, basically identical to what happened here, but it's just the opposite. And you can see here, there are new liquidity bubbles that are forming that we can see, that will show you where the price is actually trying to go to as well. So yeah, now after liquidating this much, oh, look at that. We kind of just straight up called it that if it reaches this zone, if it reaches this zone, it will drive even lower. And it's still trying to do that, because there's even more liquidation at the very bottom here as well. But we still have to wait and see what's happening, because this is still pretty much uncertain. There's a lot of selling and a lot of liquidity at the a lot of volume that's being traded right now actually. But yeah, right now there's a lot more sellers are stepping in. I believe they're trying to not get hit with this liquidation area for them. That's why they stepped in, pretty much trying to shoot the price back up here. But look at that. There's so much selling going on. So much selling going on, reaching 87,750, which is very interesting right now. How's today's market? Well, it's overall very bullish, but in the last couple minutes, it went like a little bearish after we kind of called it that that it'll liquidate people here, and then we were watching it live when we said that it will also reach the specific zone, which then will make it shoot all the way down here, which it literally just did it live. But yeah, from what we see here, this specific candle that is happening right now is because a lot of buyers are stepping in so they don't get liquidated at the very bottom here. They don't want a price to reach this area, because if it reaches this specific area as well, the price will even drive a little bit lower as well. But we can watch it right now live. If it does that, we will see, because this is supposedly another liquidation zones, but it doesn't look like that, like the actual big liquidation zone that we saw back here. We kind of saw that this specific one is the actual real liquidation sweep area, which means that when it reached this specific area, as we called it before, the price actually drove down pretty significant. This one, however, is a newly one. Yep, there it is. There it is. We knew. We called it that it will try to reach this, and it'll probably like try to lower. Like, we called it. We knew it was happening. This is like a fits. This is a real liquidation zone, then it's trying very much to drive the price even lower now. Yeah, okay, so because now there's a little bit of positive, let's see if it happened. Yeah, so this is not, as I was kind of saying before, it might not be a very much like real liquidation sweep area. Or it actually could be, because it got liquidated pretty much like kind of around $100. And now it's sitting around 87,650, pretty much the lowest it's been since like a couple hours ago. So we're just waiting. It basically lost all the momentum after also like reaching a pretty much nearly a new high as well, but like not a high, just a normal one, like a daily one. But right now we're sitting around 87,620, which is very interesting. It's trying to go under 86,600, but a lot of buyers are stepping in because there's a lot of, you can see the next liquidity bubbles are at the bottom here. This means that the new like price that it's trying to reach is here for the short positions. However, the long positions, for them to equally go to the same liquidation zones, are up here. But these are like newer ones, and like bigger liquidity bubbles as well. But yeah, so right now I'm using like a couple indicators. The first indicator that I'm using, is called the Lux algorithm liquidity sweeps, and all of them are in TradingView that you can see. And it shows you where the liquidity sweeps are. So it's basically telling you, hey, this is where a lot of liquidation is. So if the price reaches that specific zone, then it will even liquidate more positions, which will then drive the price even more down, as we saw from up here and like down here as well. Similar to yeah, similar to what happened even like before around here, and even what was trying to happen at the very top here. But yeah, so yeah, and we can also call this a liquidity sweep as well, because the price kind of is trying very hard to reach this specific level, which is what a liquidity sweep is. But because there's a lot of liquidation at the very bottom here, there's a lot of bubbles at the very bottom here, it's still uncertain how much the price will still drive, or like will still go to the very bottom, still dive, I mean. So you kind of have to wait and see. There's a lot of selling momentum that happened right then. Now there's a lot of buying. Hello, hello, welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'm doing great. Just watching what's happening live right now, and kind of explaining why it's happening, and kind of trying to see where it's gonna go. And we're gonna even talk about some new articles as well, because there's very interesting articles that I want to understand about, and I want to talk about as well, because it has a lot of like comparative and very like accurate and close comparison between what's been happening with like Bitcoin and like over even the recent times as well. But yeah, welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, so we're just watching the price right now. We have a couple also articles that we will go through and talk about what they mean as well. But yeah, basically another dynamic of what we're seeing, for example, at play is profit taking and like rotation of capital. Oh, look at that. So this is a lot of buyers stepping in, trying to liquidate all these positions at the very top here. This is very interesting. It reached all the, oh, look at that. It's going to try to reach this specific zone specifically, but because there isn't really a liquidity sweep at the bottom here, it shows the liquidity sweep at the top. Is Bitcoin good for, yeah, okay, so it liquidated this bubble right here, and it will try to even liquidate these. You can see, oh, it already liquidated that. It's very interesting right now. It's very interesting. It will still try to shoot even more high up for a little bit at least, because there's so much buying that's going on. But it might even stop, because there's a, this basically means that a lot of people could try to take, yeah, there it is. Whew, look at that. It went from 87,500. It went up nearly $1,000. Whew, it liquidated the price at the top. You were talking so much about it liquidating this area, and there it is. It just did it live as well. Yeah, we talked about how it might actually try to liquidate the price at around this specific zone, where if it did reach this specific zone, it will drive even higher, which it just did. It basically, like as soon as it reached this specific zone, it shot up even more high. But yeah, this was basically a lot of buyers. Now what's happening right now, this is like profit taking. So a lot of people like basically they made a lot of money right now, so they will try to take profit, and after taking profit, it basically like you're losing your the price will drive down a little bit. Yeah, each bubble means some. Yeah, each bubble means a lot of people got liquidated. Yeah, pretty depending on the size. So you can see this the size here. The smaller one means like a smaller amount of people or a smaller amount of liquidation is around that, and the bigger one means that a higher number of people are getting liquidated at these specific price zones, similar to what's happening here and here. This is basically the short positions. So these are people like saying, oh, the price of Bitcoin is going down, but this one is the opposite, is saying that the price of Bitcoin is going up. So if it reached this specific zones, which it just did, it liquidated a lot of people, similar to what it was trying to do at the very bottom here. But we can see there was like even like a small liquidity bubble at the very bottom here. So yeah, this small bubbles, each of these bubbles are basically people getting liquidated. But I think for a better indicator, you can find a liquidity heat map. It basically shows you all of this, but in just one map, which is very good, and it's a very good indicator. Me personally, I really like the liquidity sweep indicator, this specific ones over here, these ones are very good because it shows you where the price is trying to go, and it's not as simple as just up and down. It's showing you that if it reaches this position, like this specific position, it will go even further down or further up. So you can like make your decisions based on that. For example, if we see here from before, even we said that if it reaches this specific area, and that was live, it will still try to go even higher, and it did. It basically reached this specific area and then all the way up here. So then basically it went even higher, similar to what happened over here. We were talking that if it reaches this specific position, then it will go down, and it went down very, very significant. However, here I wasn't entirely sure if this is the actual liquidity sweep, because there's ones that appeared like pretty much very fast because a lot of buying and selling happens. So it wasn't like a sure, or it wasn't a guarantee about it. So after it reaches this specific zone, even though like this was basically mostly just buyers trying to hit these liquidation levels at the top here, hitting this specific area as well made the price go even more up, all the way to up here. But yeah, I believe now it's at an all-time high. Oh, it reached an all-time high of 88,500. Not an all-time, but like a pretty much a couple day high, uh, or a couple hour high at least, because it reached 89,000 the other day. But yeah, now the price is probably gonna go down because a lot of people are trying to take profit. So because the price went up pretty significantly, pretty quickly, a lot of people are gonna sell their positions so they can just straight up take profit here. But yeah, welcome everyone to the stream. The price is sitting around 88,250. And as we were saying before, it's basically it drove all the way up here, but very, very quickly, because there was a lot of liquidation at the very top here. Compared to at the bottom, it was just basically liquidation bubbles, not really a liquidation sweep. So that's why it went all the way up here and then now is driving back down, because that's what a liquidation sweep usually means. So basically, these are all like liquidation sweep indicators at the top here. Bitcoin volatility is crazy. Yeah, it is very crazy today, and we have to kind of wait. Big candles just printed. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So usually, when what you see from these specific indicators is that this specific indicators over here, there's like the liquidity sweeps Lux Algo indicator from like a trading view. So basically a liquidation sweep in Bitcoin is a rapid forced cascade of positions closure on leverage markets. So primarily perpetual futures triggered when price moves through zones where large clusters of traders liquidation levels are concentrated. So these are basically large clusters of liquidation levels. So if it reaches these specific zones, that what we were saying, that a lot of people will get liquidated at the very top, so the price will drive even more high for a little bit, and then it will probably even go down because of take profit, or it will continue to go even more high because just traders buying in for too long the price of Bitcoin. But yeah, Bitcoin is still now even, funnily enough, it's still around the area where we started, around 88,000. That's where we saw at the very start as well. But this is very like unsure about where the price is going right now. You have to wait and see exactly what's happening, because there isn't really much liquidation that happened. But yeah, so the price right now is sitting around $88,045, and we can see that Ethereum is actually up 5% since the day started, which is insane. Oh, where's Ethereum? Why is it not loading? There you go. So we can see Ethereum. Oof, it's actually, yeah, you can see it's basically following Bitcoin. Wow, it's actually very much following Bitcoin. Exactly like bit for bit. But yeah, it's still like an extreme high at the very bottom. Ooh, okay, yeah, okay. We can see why it's an all-time high right now. You see, this is a very big liquidity pool at the very bottom here. So people didn't want to get liquidated at the very edge here. So there was a big liquidity sweep that would have happened. So a lot of buyers stepped in at the very bottom here to try to shoot the price up by a crazy amount. And after and because there's a big liquidity at the very bottom for long-term positions, it hit multiple like smaller short-term position liquidity sweeps, which then drove the price even higher up all the way to where it is to now. Yeah, similar to what's happening over here as well. That is very interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, we can kind of understand why the price right now is where it is. But you can see now there's a lot of liquidity bubbles, and the price is around 5% more than where it started, like from the day start. But yeah, the price right now for Bitcoin is around 87,900. It's dropping pretty significantly since the high a little bit ago. Let's go back and see what's happening. I think I'm having a little bit of connection issues actually. But yeah, you can see the price is dropping pretty hard. It will probably try to go down to liquidate these positions, but I don't think it will pretty soon. But we have to wait and see about that. But yeah, these liquidity sweeps that we see over here, basically like a rapid, like forced cascade of positions closure. So basically, this is closing a lot of positions at the same time, like forcing a lot of positions to close on leveraged market. So primarily like perpetual futures. So what does this mean? It means that a lot of positions here are betting that Bitcoin will go down. So when if Bitcoin reaches the position that they said it will not reach, they will lose their money because they said that it will not reach like this position. Same thing at the bottom here. These are saying that Bitcoin will go high, will go up. So if Bitcoin reached this specific position, from what we saw even here, it liquidated a lot of people because it reached the position where they said it will not reach. But yeah, we can see here that there is a lot of liquidity at the bottom, at the very top here. Liquidity bubbles that we're waiting for to see which area it's trying to go to. We don't see a lot of liquidity sweep areas, but the price is kind of like try to stabilize around this area instead of reaching specific points. But this is basically over here are sellers trying to not even get liquidated more at this specific price zone. That's why before reaching the specific area, it dropped the price pretty significant to this area, which it will try to do so. So now if buyers try to bring the price back up all the way up here, it will basically do similar things where sellers will step in and try to lower the price even more. But yeah, these are this is what's happening right now. So basically, uh, these liquidation sweeps happen when price move aggressively enough to force exchanges to auto close losing leveraged positions, creating additional market orders that push price further, triggering even more liquidations in a chain reaction. This is kind of what we keep saying here. Like let's say for example, if we see this specific zone over here, this is what a liquidity sweep is. Like this is the first liquidity sweep that we saw, and we said that like, oh, let's zoom in here. So we saw that the price was hovering around this specific area, and we said that if it reaches this specific area, and if these are actual big liquidity sweep, then the price will drive even lower, which it did. So after hitting this specific zone, it liquidated this position, which then hit this specific zone at the very bottom, which liquidated this very older, bigger position, which then did the same thing at the very bottom here, which made the price go reach all the way at the very bottom here. But yeah, this is the price. The price right now is at around 88,200, with not much really trying to happen over the past couple minutes. It's just been trying, like, it liquidated a lot of position, and this is basically a lot of people taking profit for a little bit. And now it's just sitting around this specific price zone, trying to reach these specific points at the very top here, or at the very bottom here. So we just have to kind of wait and see where it's trying to go, and we will decide whether if it will reach this zone to liquidate even more positions, or it will reach this zone, which will then try to liquidate even more positions. But yeah, if we look at the price, Ethereum right now is 5.2% higher than the start. You can see it did the exact same thing where it almost reached 3,000. Did it reach 3,000 recently? I think it did actually. It reached 3,000 like a couple of days ago. But now, or like at least a couple of hours ago, but now it's over 5% difference since the day starts, which is pretty insane right now. And we can see that even the newer candles right now are trying to hit another like liquidity position at the very top. So we just kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, let's see gold. The gold is basically like just been hovering around these specific zones. So there isn't really much going on. It's been going up actually pretty significantly for the past couple minutes, but its significance is just 0.06 or something like that. So let's actually look at Bitcoin again, back around 3% difference since the day start, over $2,600 higher than the start of the day, which is pretty interesting. We can see that there wasn't really much market movements before, because there wasn't really a lot of liquidations at the back or at the very front here. Only when there was a lot of like liquidity sweep indicators, it showed that price is trying very hard to reach set specific zones, like over here and over here. But because before it wasn't really much going on, it just try to liquidate the specific zone at the very back here. But yeah, the price right now is around 88,000, and we were saying that there is a difference between like spot and derivatives for like Bitcoin like trades in two different ways. I think people should know this, which a lot of people actually don't know this, which is very interesting. They think like, oh, if you're trading Bitcoin, you just kind of just buy Bitcoin at a price and then sell it at another price, and it's simple as that. Well, it's actually very different. There's spot and derivatives. Spot is basically when you do that, when you buy Bitcoin at 88,000, for example, and then reach 89,000, then you make like 0.5% profit, or like 0.7% profit from your actual initial price. And if you lose if the price of Bitcoin goes down, you just lose the percentage that it went down. However, there's the derivative market, and that's like the most of what the trading actually is. Basically, you're contract trading Bitcoin price. You're not really actually buying Bitcoin. These people are not really people that are buying Bitcoin to change the price by themselves. They are just betting on Bitcoin going down or going up. But they use like leverage, like 5x leverage, 10x leverage, 20x leverage, depends, or like even 100x leverage. But it's the more leverage you have, the more risk that you have. So liquidation like sweeps basically just basically it like means when you open a leverage positions, you post margin, so you basically add loss, so you add like money that you might lose, which is like a collateral, and then you borrow exposure from the exchange, so you borrow money from the exchange to bet with for like saying like Bitcoin will go higher, Bitcoin will go low, and then the exchange like defines its own liquidation price, so it will tell you, oh, the liquidation price is going to be around this specific area or this specific area. But if that liquidation if the price hit that liquidation level, your margin is insufficient, so you might lose your money when the price reaches said level that will tell you that you might get liquidated at. And the exchange will literally force close your position. So this is like done via a market order basically. So a liquidation is not a voluntary sell or buy. So isn't like the price reaching here and someone saying, oh, I already lost money, so I will sell. No, it's a forced sell. That's why the price almost always go higher or lower immediately after that. So it's like basically an automatic market order executed immediately. So there's a reason why liquidations create sweeps instead of single events. So liquidation clusters because traders behave similarly. So for example, traders saw that the price went up all the way from the bottom here to the top here. So they decided, oh, now is a good price to sell because I just made pretty much, there's $1,000 more, like Bitcoin went up by $1,000. So it's basically a couple percentage more. Then the price like drops. So a lot of people probably put positions here to kind of basically short or long-term positions based on what they think it is. Basically, if it reached this zone, a lot of people would put shorting positions, which would then drive the price even more down because it's saying that betting that the price will go down. So for example, like retail traders place stop losses below like obvious support, and high leverage longs stack near round numbers. So like people say like, oh, if it reaches specific numbers, like if someone says if it reaches 87,000, I will long the price because right now it's 88,000 because the price will drop and then probably go back up. Shorter clusters above resistance zone. This is kind of the opposite of support zones. So this creates liquidity pool areas where many liquidations will trigger at once. So when price enters such area, first batch of positions like get liquidated around this area. That's why the price goes up a little bit, and then their forced market moves, like orders move price. That moves triggers more liquidations, and feedback loop accelerates. That's why when we see these liquidation levels over here and over here, we said that the price, if it reaches this specific zone, it will, if it reaches this specific zone, it will liquidate a lot of people and it will liquidate even more people. that's what happened over here, and that drove the price pretty much very like the very bottom. But yeah, another price is sitting around 88,100 and basically 88,200, which is very interesting. It's been kind of stabilizing around this area, which I think it will try to stabilize around this area because this is kind of in between the next two liquidation zones, like around here and around here. So it will try to stay in between this area for at least a little bit. So we have to just kind of wait and see if it reaches like these specific areas, or these specific areas we would know if it wants to drive up or if it wants to drive down. But we were saying about the liquidity sweeps, um, which is very interesting, and that's what the indicators I use. Like basically one of the best indicators to use is that long liquidation sweeps and short liquidation sweeps are kind of different. So long liquidation sweeps occur when price move like downward. So people who long the position are saying that the price will go up will lose their money. So exchange sells Bitcoin to close positions. So over leveraged longs get liquidated. Exchange sells like Bitcoin to close positions. Selling pressure increases and price drops faster like than normal. Basically it has like a sharp downside wick and basically high volume spike, and funding often flips negative after after. So and it has an open interest collapse. However, short liquidation sweeps at the very bottom top here that we see, it hasn't like occurs when price moves upward. So the price moves at the very top here, and over leverage shorts to get liquidated, which is what we saw, which drove the price even higher. And exchange buys Bitcoin to close positions. So buying pressure increases and price accelerates upwards. Now, basically, it has like a violent upside expansion, and large green candles, funding like spike positive and open interest drops while prices rise. But yeah, now the price is actually going a little bit high, trying to reach 88,300 for a little bit. And now it's kind of, I think it's nearly to an overall high for it since the market kind of started actually. Yeah, but we were saying that like beyond macro and leverage, there's also like the issue of market positioning and sentiment. So cryptocurrency markets have been under pressure in recent weeks, with Bitcoin drifting below 90,000 and several altcoins following the downward trajectory. So in a risk-off environment, traders often reduce exposure to volatile assets, not because fundamentals have worsened, but because risk tolerance changes. So when big players reduce positions, the market interprets that as a signal to be cautious, which can create a feedback loop leading to future selling. Basically, further selling, not future selling. It's also worth noting that macro global conditions aren't uniform. While some economies are easing, others aren't. So, for example, discussions in the market about possible interest rate action from the Bank of Japan or the Bank of England introduce additional uncertainty and fragmentation in global monetary policy. So, this patchwork actually of signals can create confusion and reduce broad based confidence in global risk assets. So, what like confounds many traders is the assumption that cool inflation must immediately reduce interest rates and spark buying in practice. In practice, central banks move cautiously. Even when inflation slows, central banks may opt to pause or take a gradual approach to rate cuts, especially if other indicators like labor markets remain mixed. This means that the market sometimes price like in a 2 to 3 rate cut scenario that never materialize, and that creates volatility and retracement in assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. We can see right now the price is actually sitting around 88,400, and it's basically over 3.4%, which is pretty much very almost a new high of today. We can see that it's trying also to go at the very top here to liquidate these positions at the very top here. But yeah, it's sitting around 88,500, which is very, oh, yep, you see now it's going at the very top. It's going to try to liquidate these positions. But because, yep, there it is. Yeah, we knew that if it reaches this specific area, it would try to liquidate the other positions. Come on. Yeah, there you go. These positions will also like show you that it got liquidated, like what it just did. Yeah. This is very interesting. So it's an all-time high, over $3,000 since the start of the market. But because still this is a similarly, this is a all-time high, a lot of people might try to sell to even do that. But because there's not really major liquidation zones at the top here, look at that. It's almost like, oh, it's already at a very much all-time high since literally yesterday, actually. Yeah, that's very interesting. It went up very, very quickly. But yeah, now the price is sitting around 88,684, which which is very, very interesting. It reached all the way to 88,800 and something and liquidated pretty much a decent amount of positions. But look at that, it's driving very much so high so quickly. Look at that, yep. Yep, it's still trying to even go all the way up here to liquidate more positions as well. Look at that. Yep, 88,800. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to reach 89,000? That is a very big jump. Never mind. I think we have to wait and see a little bit, but it will probably try to either stabilize here or stop, basically take profit here, because a lot of people are basically made money since this area. But yeah, now we're sitting around $88,700, which is an all-time high, not all-time high, but like a daily high at least, or a couple of hours at least, which is very like good. Over nearly 4% high actually, and if we look at like Ethereum, it's actually sitting at 5.5%, 5.6% high, which is pretty insane. Look at that. Oh, it's still following the same trend as Bitcoin, as it always does. And Bitcoin, oh, well, look at that. It shot up so quickly. Oh, look at that. It liquidated a lot of positions. Let's see this live, actually. Come on, why can't we see it? How the internet is so bad. Look at that. Look how fast it went all the way up here, and it's going, yeah, 89,000. We were saying it might reach 89,000, and it did it so quickly, so fast. Yeah, all of this to liquidate some small positions at the very top, and it's going even way faster right now. Yeah, we were saying it might reach 89,000. We saw that it's kind of far, but it just did. Maybe it will reach, yeah, 89,000 and a little bit more. But that's a very, very interesting. 89,200, and it's still shooting up very quickly. Look at the amount of buying that's happening right now. Yeah, 88,200, nearly 4.3%, 4.4% now. An increase since the daily start, $3,700 more since the daily start. Look at that. Oh, it went up so significant literally in the last couple minutes. Look at the amount of liquidation that's trying to hit. Oh, this is gonna liquidate so many people. Yeah, this is what's happening right now. A lot of people are trying to bet against it, so it might try to liquidate said people. And they put the liquidation zones at around 89,000 like 500. Yeah, 89,500. This is like the new zone. But look at how interesting that is. Oh, look at that. There's a new liquidity sweep at the top here that just formed, which probably will make the price drive even higher. Let's see that. Yep, it's liquidating the price. Oh my god, it's around 89,300, 4.5% high. Yeah, there's a lot of people either taking profit right now, or because there was a liquidity sweep that we saw at the very top. Because we saw there was a liquidity sweep at the very top. That means a lot of sellers, a lot of short positions are trying to drive the price even lower now so they don't get liquidated. Now what's happening, I'm pretty sure, is just take profit that's happening right now. A very significant take profit. Look at that. But yeah, this is still the start of a newer candle, a new 3-minute candle that I'm using. So it's still very interesting where the price might actually go to. It's now at 89,000. It reached 90. It did reach 90,000. It didn't reach 90,000. Yeah, there's still a pretty huge amount. Yeah, look at that, 89,000. It's probably gonna drop under it because people are trying to take profit. Yeah. What just happened? That is insane about what just happened. It went from literally all the way 88,000 to 89,400, and now it's dropping like crazy. Oh my god. Thing is, if you see Ethereum right now, it's overall like a 5.4% increase since the daily. Look at that. It will try to liquidate these positions. Yep, it liquidated this huge chunk. Yep, that is very interesting. So that was a lot of buying that happened, and even a lot of like liquidation that happened for the long positions as well. Look at that. It's going down so fast. Around 88,600 all the way from around 89,400. Nearly $1,000 down just in one candlestick, in a 3-minute candlestick. But that is insane, what just happened. There was just a lot of bullish that happened. Now it's going down pretty significantly, actually. And we can see that even Ethereum is following it. It was we were saying it was around 5.5%. Now it's at 5.2%. Look at that. Yep, still driving down pretty significantly to liquidate other positions. You can see the newer liquidity bubbles that are forming are here and here, but because there was a lot, like a major buy at the very top. Oof, look at that, 88,300. It basically lost everything that it just did in the last like 5 minutes. You can see the price right now is around 88,200. which is insane because a couple minutes ago it reached all the way to 89,400. Um, look at that, it will even try to liquidate this position. I think it already did liquidate this position, the very bottom here. So it liquidated both this and this position, which is insane. So it might even drop more. But yeah, now it's sitting around 88,300, which is still a 3% increase since the market open. But still, it reached all the way to the top there, which was insane, but then it dropped significantly. But yeah, the price right now is at 88,180, which is wild. It's around sitting at 200 right now. But yeah, we can see Ethereum also went through a similar phase where it went down pretty significant following Bitcoin. So yeah. Sorry, but I believe I have some internet issues. I don't know why it's very, very slow. Yeah, we can see Bitcoin, Ethereum also went through similar issues, where it reached a pretty much a over 3,000, and then dropped all the way down to even under 5%, which was insane. But Bitcoin at least is trying to pick up a little bit of momentum now, around 88,400, which you know, it's still pretty decent, over 3.4% the market open price. So it's trying to pick up more momentum. Oh, look at that sell. Oh, this is so hard. You can see that it just sold by $100 just in a single second. But yeah, I have a couple indicators that I'm using right now, but because the price is extremely like uncertain, so we have to wait and see what's happening. We can see a little bit before this indicator that I'm using is called the liquidity sweep indicator. In TradingView, it's a pretty good indicator that shows you where the price is trying to go. The other one is called the liquidation levels, and it shows you where there are liquidity bubbles, where liquidity bubbles are, and where a lot of people will get liquidated. So it also shows you where the price is and where the price tries to go. Similar to what happened here, you can see that the price here at the very first candlestick, where the first liquidation is, it went all the way down here to liquidate this price level, and then went back all the way down here to liquidate this smaller liquidation level as well. However, here it didn't really show the newer liquidation zones. There's still these ones at the bottom here, which still didn't get liquidated. So it might try to go there, but still, there's still also major liquidation zones at the very top as well. So we still have to wait and see where it's trying to go. But yeah, there's also a psychological aspect to of markets. So when prices have drifted down for weeks, traders become conditioned to selling rallies. Short-term traders look for any reason to reduce exposure, and they often use macro news as an excuse rather than the cause of price move. Now, this dynamic alone can't keep price depressed, but even when like fundamental news appears positive on the surface. So you can see two new liquidation levels appeared at the very top here and the very low here. That's where the price is going to try to go, and because it's already close by to the very bottom here, it's going to try very hard to reach the specific area. Yeah, we can see that. Did it already hit it? No, it didn't, right? Yeah, the liquidation zone just dropped. but yeah, maybe it was not a lot of liquidation levels that appeared there. So yeah, so we're saying that this dynamic alone can keep prices depressed even when markets, even when like fundamental news appear positive on the surface. So understanding these market dynamics requires a sense of scale. And when we talk about inflation cooling, this is a signal about the potential future path of monetary policy, not an immediate change in liquidation. So the Federal Reserve and other like central banks operates with a lag. So this they respond to trends over months, not hourly market shifts. Meanwhile, crypto markets react in real time to speculation about like what those policies mean for risk assets. The result is often like whipsaw behavior, so positive macro signals triggering short-term rallies, which then reverse amid certainty about future policy direction. But yeah, now the price is sitting around 88,130, which is insane. And yeah, it's pretty much going down significantly, almost under 3% since the market started, which is insane because it keeps reaching this 88,000 level. This is where we started our stream at, around 88,000 here. And then it went up pretty significantly where we called it is going to go up. And then immediately after that, we called it is going to go down around here. And it did go down significantly, then shot up very fast. Then after that, it went down pretty to a stable $88,000 level, which then made it go all the way back up to 89,400. But now it's dropping very sharply, trying to liquidate other positions, which looks like it did actually. It did like liquidate multiple positions, like a lot of liquidity, liquidation levels. I mean. But yeah, we can see the prices right now is just stable around 88,000. It's not really stable, but it's around 88,000 where it started. So I think it will try to at least stabilize around this position because there's been a lot of selling, a lot of short positions that have been going on. And if you look at Ethereum, it's still like 5% over the market start, which is pretty significant, but not really yeah, which is pretty significant, nearly 5% over the market start. And now Bitcoin is sitting around 88. Oh, look at that sharp decline, so fast. We said that it might stabilize around 88,000, but we have to see because this doesn't look like it will stabilize. But yeah, there's still a lot of buying that's still happening. But yeah, you can see now it's under 88,000, 88,935, which we see is very interesting. So we can kind of like accurately interpret why like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP are like falling even as inflation cools and rates are cut. It's helpful to break down the difference between news impact and policy impact. So macro news like inflation data or a single rate cut influences expectations, but true policy impact, meaning actual changes in monetary conditions that affect credit, liquidity, and risk allocation, happen over longer cycles and with repeated signals because traders are trying to price in future conditions. The mere possibility of future cuts isn't enough to drive sustainable rallies anymore. So yeah, the price right now is hovering around 88,000. We said it will try to stabilize it around that, which is very interesting because that's what it's been at least for the last couple hours. So you want to see where it's going. You want to see if there's any new new bubbles that are forming, because the ones that we see at the very bottom here already liquidated the top ones a while ago. So we kind of has to wait and see if it's trying to reach all the way down here to liquidate even more positions, which then would make the price reach all the way down to 87,000. But we can see there's still a lot of buying momentum as well, even though the price reached all the way down to 87,900. It's right now hovering around 88,300, which is insane right now. Nearly a 3.3% increase, or $2,700 increase since the market start, and the candle will end on a positive or like a bullish candle, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, we can see that price right now is sitting around 88,270 or 250 right now, trying to keep the stabilization level around 88,000 as we said it would. So in crypto, this effect is often magnified because many participants use leverage. So if market anticipate easier money, but then doubt those expectations even slightly, positions get unwound and prices can fall sharply. So forced liquidations, margin calls, and stop losses all contribute to downward spirals that are often mistaken for fundamental weaknesses, when in fact they are mechanical effects of positioning. But yeah, as we call it, the price is around 88,230. We said it will stabilize around this area because it's where it has been stable for the past couple hours. But yeah, the thing is, like, we saw the market go all the way up here, at least for a little bit of liquidation. But I don't see why it went all the way up here, even though there was more liquidation at the very top. Maybe that's why a lot of people try to sell at this specific zone, so it doesn't get liquidated. Maybe this was just the price trying to reach all the way up here to 89,500 to liquidate the remaining positions. But a lot of sellers and take profits and short positions hit, so that's why the price went all the way down here. I'm pretty sure. Another element we need to consider is the difference between headline inflation and core inflation. So, for example, headline inflation includes all prices, while core inflation strips out volatile food and energy costs. So, markets pay close attention to core inflation because it's viewed as a more stable measure of underlying inflation pressure. In recent data, core inflation showed subdued growth, which helped fuel hopes of rate cuts. However, traders ultimately want clarity on the path of monetary policy, not just isolated data points. And in the absence of like concentrated policy changes, selling pressure continues. But yeah, the prices are now sitting around $88,300, over 2.7 thousand the the market open price, and over 3.3% the market start price as well, which is pretty significant. And right now the price is sitting around 88,300, with Ethereum sitting at around 2,977. We can actually kind of add Ethereum to compare uh, with what we're seeing here. So you can see that the movement is actually very, very, very similar to what's happening with Bitcoin here as well. But yeah, we can see the price sitting around 88,235. But we were talking about that one of the biggest reasons crypto markets can fall even when inflation cools and rates are cut is that markets don't trade on what happened. They trade on what they think will happen next. By the time inflation data is released and rate cuts are announced, expectations have often already been priced in. So traders spend weeks positioning ahead of those events. When the event finally arrives, the question immediately becomes whether the outcome was good enough to justify higher prices. If it isn't, markets like sell. So in the case like described in the complete article that we're talking about, cooling inflation and rate cuts did not come with a clear signal that monetary policy could turn aggressively accommodative for a sustained period. Instead, the message many traders took away was that while inflation pressure may be easing, central banks remain cautious and data dependent. That uncertainty is enough to prevent risk assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP from from attracting fresh capital in size, basically. So right now the price is sitting around 88,165. You can see that the price is dropping here, so that means it will try to drop for Ethereum as well. 5.2% will go for 5.1% or something like that. Just have to wait and see a little bit. Yeah, 5.18, 5.15. Yeah, we can see, we can even like tell, just straight up compare the prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum and know that if this drops, this will drop immediately after. But yeah, if this goes up like what it's doing right now, this will also go up with it. But yeah, we can see the price right now is at around 88,200, which is still pretty high compared to the market open, but it's still nowhere close to where it went to, where it was like 89,400. Now, another important factor is that rate cuts are not always like bullish in isolation. Rate cuts often happen because economic growth is slowing or because financial stress is emerging somewhere in the system. In those scenarios, rate cuts are reactive, not stimulative. Markets sometimes interpret them as a confirmation that something is breaking rather than as an invitation to take risk. That interpretation dominates. Capital flows towards safety rather than speculation. So that's like when that interpretation dominates, capital like start flowing towards safety rather than speculation. Which I guys think is it gonna reach under $88,000? I think it will try to hover around 88,000, but because it's almost there, it will try to reach under that, at least for a little bit. We can see that's at $88,100, which is pretty decent. But yeah, silver is actually pretty good. It's almost 2% high, which is insane for section 1, basically metal. We can quickly look at it. But yeah, it's pretty much near an all-time high again, where or at least a daily high, and we can compare the yearly basically. Oh, yearly difference is insane. Look at that. So it reached all the way to 121%, and is now basically insane right now. Basically, it went up significantly, 130% year to date, which is wild if you compare it to other like assets. But yeah, even today it's over 1.7% by itself, which is wild. Just since the market opened. But yeah, Bitcoin's still sitting around 88,100. But we were saying like this distinction like matters a lot for crypto specifically. So Bitcoin and other digital assets tend to like perform best when rate cuts occur, uh, alongside expanding liquidity, strong growth expectations, and rising risk appetite. So they tend to struggle when rate cuts are associated with economic uncertainty. So deteriorating labor markets or tightening credit conditions elsewhere, without clarity on which environment we're entering, traders hesitate. But yeah, the price right now, oh, it went under 88,000, which kind of we called it. We kind of saw that it might drop under that because it was hovering around that for a pretty long time. And you can see that it went under even 3% difference since the market start. Now it's at 2.87%. Similar to what is happening with Ethereum, is around 5%. But yeah, we can compare that traditionally you can see like both the level of Bitcoin for 2024 and 2023 were very like pretty much very much close to each other, and like year to date differences. But 2025 was insane. It was actually close at the start, and like it dropped significantly at the like March area, April area, and then at the very end now, and near like what was that, like October or something, that where it started to drop pretty hefty, which now is around pretty much nearly 6% negative since like a year to date. However, if we look at that, it's almost 3% higher just today. So that's pretty interesting. We just have to look at the price and see where it's going. Right now, we don't have that many indicators because it already went through a crazy price difference. Literally a couple a couple minutes ago, where we saw it live, where it went all the way down here, and we called it that it will reach at the bottom here, and then the top here we called the same thing, where if it reaches this, it would also reach a pretty much all-time high. We didn't really know why we'll try to go all the way up here, even though there was a little bit of liquidity at this specific area. There wasn't much like liquidity at the there is liquidity at the top here, but it failed to reach it because a lot of selling on a lot of like take profits and a lot of like short positions basically like made money over around this area. That's why the price has been dropping significantly since. Even at this area, it liquidated a lot of positions as well. But yeah, this distinction mattered to a lot for crypto. Bitcoin and other digital assets tend to perform best when rate cuts occur alongside like expanding liquidity and strong growth expectations and rising risk appetite. They tend to struggle when rate cuts are associated with economic uncertainty, deteriorating labor markets, or tightening credit conditions elsewhere. Without clarity on which environments we're entering, traders hesitate. So another layer to this timing is monetary policy works with long and variable lags. Even if rates are cut today, it can take months before those cuts translate into easier credit conditions, higher lending activity, or increased speculative flows. So crypto markets, on the other hand, move instantly. This mismatch in timing often leads to short-term disappointment after seemingly positive macro news. But yeah, we can see the price right now is hovering around 87,800, which is pretty significant because this is almost the low that we saw here. But yeah, it's 88,500, which is very close to that, and it's trying to liquidate these positions here, which I think it might try to do pretty soon. If the price reaches this area, it will try very much to liquidate all of these positions. So you have to kind of wait and see what it's doing. But it already reached this zone over here. But the price is still hovering around 87,790 with a 2.6% or 2.7% difference. But yeah, you can see a lot of buyers are stepping in because it's a very very close to where a lot of positions will get liquidated if the price reaches this zone. But yeah, we can see the price is sitting around 87,700, and which is pretty low, almost 2.6% an increase since the start of the day. However, we can see that silver is still doing pretty good, 1.75%. Silver is not even trading close to how Bitcoin isn't affecting silver as much as people thought it would. But yeah, we can see the difference even in with Bitcoin and Ethereum is pretty equal. Like you can see how a little bit of difference in Bitcoin also matters same way in Ethereum as well. Well, the price here is around 87,930 because a lot of buyers are stepping in, so they don't get liquidated at the bottom here. But yeah, there's also issues of real versus real rates versus nominal rates. So a rate cut doesn't automatically mean financial conditions are loose. What matters is the relationship between interest rates and inflation. So if inflation falls faster than rate cuts, real rates can remain elevated or even rise. So high real rates continue to compete with non-yielding assets like Bitcoin. This dynamic is rarely discussed in crypto circles, but plays a meaningful role in allocation decisions. But yeah, market structure with crypto itself also matters. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP don't trade in isolation from each other. They're part of a tightly connected ecosystem where liquidity, leverage, and sentiment spill over rapidly. That's what we're seeing. Why if Bitcoin is going down a little bit, same thing will happen with Ethereum, where it will also go down a little bit. But yeah, when Bitcoin weakens, altcoins often fall harder. So when Ethereum struggle, it affects DeFi, NFTs, and layer 2 ecosystem. XRP, despite its unique use case narrative, still trades largely at a risk asset during broad market moves. Now, leverage amplifies all this. So during periods of optimism, so leverage builds quietly, funding rates turn positive, and open interest rates. And traders increase position size. So when prices stall or reverse, that leverage becomes a liability. Liquidations don't care about inflation data or rate cuts. They are automatic, mechanical, and indifferent to narrative. So once liquidations cascade begins, price can fall regardless of macro headlines. We can see now the price of Bitcoin is around 87,900, and it's trying to reach 88,000, which it was kind of the stable level that it was for the past couple hours at least. But it's still pretty much a positive since the market since the market opened around 2.7% right now, or over $2,000 more than the market opened. So like we can also say that leverage amplifies all of this. So during like periods of optimism, leverage periods leverage builds quietly. So funding rates turn positive and open interest rates when traders increase position size. When price like stalls or reverses, that leverage becomes a liability. Liquidations don't really care about inflation data or rate cuts. So this is why you often see crypto markets fall on good news. And good news doesn't remove leverage. It doesn't reset positioning. It doesn't like instantly change risk tolerance. In some cases, good news is the catalyst for traders to take profit or reduce exposures because expectations were already like stretched. But yeah, the price is sitting around 87,800 right now. There's also another underappreciated like factor in cross-asset competition. So crypto does not exist in a vacuum. So when rates are cut, other assets react to. Equities may rally, bonds may catch a bid, credit spread may tighten, and investors with limited risk budgets may choose to allocate to assets they perceive as less volatile or more familiar. So crypto has to compete for capital in that environment, and it doesn't always win. But yeah, there's also like regulatory and political uncertainty layered on top of macro conditions. Even when inflation cools, ongoing debates around crypto regulations, taxation, and like compliance create friction for institutional investors. Like for some participants, macro easing is not enough to justify increasing exposure if regulatory clarity remains elusive. This keeps marginal demand muted. So it's very interesting. And Bitcoin is kind of hovering around this specific zone, around 88,000, which is nearly a 2.8% difference since the price started. But yeah, there isn't actually a lot of trading news that was happening, which is insane because there was a significant jump that happened to 89,000, basically an all-time high, 89,400, an all-time, not an all-time high, of course, but like basically a daily high or something like that, which I would assume a lot of crypto news would talk about, but they don't really talk about that much, which is pretty significant. But yeah, you can see that I'm using here a couple indicators. The first indicator that I have is the liquidity sweep flux algo indicator, and it basically shows you where a lot of liquidation sweeps might happen, which then means that if the price reaches this level, it will go even higher up, which it did to around this specific level. Similar to here, this is a short liquidation zone where if people who put short levels here will get liquidated if the price reaches this specific zone. We were even live when it happened, and we said that if it reaches this specific zone, it will drop pretty much very low, and it did drop all the way to the bottom here. But yeah, now Bitcoin is still trying to stabilize around this specific zone, around the 88,000 level. But yeah, we can watch this and see Bitcoin's around $87,800 level, which is pretty significant. It's nearly 2.7% difference since the market start around $2,300 higher, whereas the market started a couple hours ago. But yeah, with Ethereum having the same thing, over $133 higher, which is a 4.7% higher. And we can see like also silver is kind of stabilizing around this 1.7 level, 1.7% higher level, or 1.74% higher level since the market start as well. However, you can see gold trade isn't really changing as much. It's only like a 0.3% difference, which is still pretty insane actually for gold, but it's not. It usually is around 0.0 something, 0.04, 0.05% differences in the daily trading itself. So we were saying that there's also regulatory and like political uncertainty layered on top of macro conditions. So another reason crypto can fall during positive macro developments is narrative fatigue. So markets are forward looking, but they're also psychological. So if traders have heard the same bullish macro narratives repeatedly without seeing sustained upside, they become skeptical. They stop reacting positively to the same signal. This doesn't mean the signals are like irrelevant. It means the market needs confirmation through action, not just data. So it's also important to recognize that inflation data and rate cuts are backward looking, and to some extent. So inflation tells us where prices were, not where they are going. So rate cuts respond to past conditions. Markets, meanwhile, are trying to anticipate future growth, future earnings, future liquidity. When those futures paths are uncertain, risk assets struggle to gain traction. In crypto specifically, sentiment often shifts faster than fundamentals. So a few days of downside price action can overwhelm weeks of constructive macro development. This is partly because crypto markets are still relatively thin compared to traditional assets. Asset classes. It doesn't take much selling pressure to move price meaningfully, actually, especially during periods of low liquidity. So another dynamic highlighted indirectly by the article as well is the role of expectations around future rate cuts. If markets were pricing in aggressive easing and only modest cuts materialize, basically disappointment sets in. So the disappointment shows up as selling, even though policy technically moved in a supportive direction. This asymmetry between expectations and reality is a common source of volatility. So Ethereum and XRP added additional layers of complexity because Ethereum faces ongoing questions around network usage, fee dynamic, and scaling developments. While none of these issues are existential, they influence how investors assess value during uncertain macro periods. So XRP, meanwhile, remains sensitive to regulatory developments and broader market sentiment unrelated of macro easing signals. So another overlooked factor is actually seasonal liquidity. Towards the end of the year, traders' volume often thin out. So thin markets exaggerate price moves in that environment. So even modest selling pressure can push prices lower, and positive macro news may fail to generate sustained buying interest. So right now, price is sitting around 87,980. We said it will stabilize around 88,000, which has been doing that. There's a newer now liquidation bubbles at the top here and at the very bottom here, but we need to wait and see if which zone it will try to go to, which I think it will just stay here for a little bit unless a lot of buying or selling potential happen. We talked about before about the liquidity indicators that we're using. First, we have the liquidity sweep indicator, and the bottom here is the same thing. And we have these liquidation bubbles or liquidation levels by Leviathan. basically it tells you where a lot of liquidations are. That's why the price, for example, when it reached this specific level or this specific level, it shot up all the way up here because it liquidated a lot of the price before that. Now the price here is trying very much to reach the same thing, or to do the same thing, to liquidate these smaller bubbles. So you can see that it's going to try very much to reach this specific zone, and if it reaches this specific zone, it will try to liquidate this bubble. But a lot of people will try to stop it to make it reach the bottom one, which has a lot more liquidation areas. So yeah, we can see that it's going up now because a lot of people are trying to liquidate this area. But yeah, this is it for today's stream. I will probably stream after an hour or two or something like that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can see the price is around 88,240, and it will try to reach this liquidation zone over here. I don't know if it will do it or not, but yeah, look at that. It will try to liquidate it, and then it will go down. Just wait for it and then end the stream after that. I think it will not reach it. It will reach it. Let's wait and see here. Because the price is has been stable around this area for a pretty decent amount of time, a lot of buyers or a lot of sellers or short positions will try very hard to not make it reach that position. However, yeah, that's it for today's stream. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.